I think the core message right now, not just to the party but to the country, is the need for stability. If you like, this is the government with the biggest majority in the history of the state, the two biggest parties in government. It's really a national government, it's like a wartime government. And we've worked well with the Labour Party over the last 12 months. We have had significant success in attempting to renegotiate parts of the original bailout agreement. And what we need now is this period of stability so that we can return to the markets at the tail end of next year. And that, more than anything, I think will give the country a boost and our international reputation a boost, that this country can get back onto an even keel. So I think stability is the key message. We have had successes, but I don't think, quite frankly, this is the time to start celebrating those successes. It's not a time to be hugely celebrating the fact we're in government. Of course, people are happy we're in government, having been out of government for 15 years. But there's a real need for calm leadership in the country, and that's what the Taoiseach is providing, what hopefully the government is providing. So it's that stability, I think, is the key message. Governments get a lot of things right and they get some things wrong. And when things go wrong, we need to fess up and tell people that things have got wrong. There were things on the household charge that could have been done differently. I'm still optimistic that when it comes to Saturday, Sunday, a majority of people will have signed up for the charge. And then we'll have to face the other 50% or the other 40%, whatever it is, who haven't signed up. But we'll have to deal with that in a practical, common sense way. Given the fact that this money has to come in this year, and given the fact it's ring-fenced for local services. But you can always improve, you can always do things differently and better. And I think if there's one thing that we must learn, having looked at Fianna Fáil for the last 14 years in government, they became very arrogant and out of control in some ways. And I think when we get things wrong, we need to put our hands up and say, we have to do better the next time. I think people expect that. You won't get everything right and wrong, but you certainly have to learn the lessons from it. And I think communication is absolutely central in this. But the government took this decision. Dumping on Phil Hogan is not fair, in my view. This was a collective cabinet decision, supported by all of the TDs in the Dáil. And if there are mistakes for all of us. 100% compliance would be an example of success, but we'll have to wait and see by Saturday and Sunday as to the level of compliance. The Irish people historically only pay in the last minute, and I think that there's going to be a flood of payments made for household charges between now and Saturday, Sunday, and I think we'll be in a better position to see at that stage the level of compliance. But I think communication is important, particularly when you're introducing a new tax. You've got to explain it, and you've got to have a big lead in time. And in fairness to Phil Hogan, what he is doing was putting in this temporary taxation measure as a means of introducing a wider tax reform through a new property tax come next year. That has to happen. I gave a speech last Monday in Lee Shoffley, and I made the point that, if we don't broaden the tax base, it is inevitable that taxes on work and labour will go up. Now, no one wants that in a circumstance where 1.8 million people are working and we're trying to get the other 440,000 people back to work. So we've got to keep tax, which has gone up recently on work, as low as possible. And the only way to do that is to broaden the tax base. So it was inevitable that we needed this 1 year lead-in period for a domestic charge leading to a full property tax next year. Well, I'd say to the people who have those fears that we want a fair, equitable property tax, and we need a big public debate on this as to how you properly put in place that tax. I think what's crucial over the summer period, over an extended period, that options would be set out as to the tax that would be introduced next year. I understand the government are working on a white paper in this area. I think we will produce it before the summer period, and it gives then the entire country an opportunity to see the options that are there, because people need to know how much they have to pay next year. It can't just be market value of the property. It has to take, in my view, some cognizance of people's ability to pay. I think everyone should pay something. I think one of the issues that has come out from this debate on the domestic charge is, a fervent view that why should 80% pay rather than 20%, everyone needs to make a contribution in my mind. So it's framing that debate, and that's why we need a long run-up period for this. And it also puts pressure, I think, on opposition parties to set out what they would do differently. We have a 15.5 billion deficit this year. We've got to plug that deficit. The only way you do it is you either borrow, tax increase, or reduce your expenditure, or do all three. So that's the in-your-face reality that all political parties must address when they comment about these issues.